Okay, so on the heart, first of all, so remember, how can you tell left from right?
Left is thicker, and
Thicker.
the apex also.
Right. The apex is the tip of the heart. It's easier to see when you close the heart. The apex is always going to be inside the left ventricle. So that tells you here's the sulcus. So this is going to be the left ventricle and this is the right ventricle. So you can see here that this entire apex is part of the left. The other way you can tell is that the left ventricle has a much thicker wall, because if you think about it, it has to pump the blood to the entire body. So it goes out through the aorta. So it has to be much thicker than the right ventricle. So this thick-walled part is the left ventricle. Here's the internal part of that, so the chamber of the left ventricle. Right ventricle is much thinner walled, so it's this. From there, once you determine which is which, you can tell which is which atrium or auricle. So this is the right ventricle, therefore this is the right auricle or atrium. The left, same thing. So here's the left auricle or atrium, and if you close it up, you can see here, this is the left, this is the right. And then in terms of the vessels, you can also tell based on which chamber is which. So you know that out of the left ventricle comes what?
Aorta.
Aorta, right. So here's the left ventricle. Here is the vessel coming out of that. So this is the aorta, this vessel. Okay, and you can trace that right back to the left ventricle. From the right ventricle, what vessel do you have? Pulmonary trunk. So the pulmonary trunk is usually easy to see on the outside of the heart too. So this should be the pulmonary trunk. It usually comes out kind of under the aorta. So this should be it. Let's see if it is. So you can always stick the probe in and then see if it comes out where you want it to.
Down practical.
I don't know about that. You can, I'll have to think about that because you don't want to mess it up for the next person. Yeah, I'll have to think about how to do this.
Or you could just put the probe already.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. Okay,
Like that?
so something like this, maybe. Yeah. So you can see here on the outside, it looks like the pulmonary trunk is supposed to look because it kind of comes out, and you can see that this is the right ventricle here because it's not the apex. And if you flip it over, you can see it. Yes, it in fact comes out into the right ventricle. So we did the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. Then we have two other vessels left. So we have to do the, which is the one that goes into the right atrium. Anybody know?
Right cranial vena cava.
Good, right. So not just the cranial vena cava, but also the caudal vena cava. So, and both right and left anterior. So all of the vena cavae come together and go into the right atrium. So let's see if we can find that. So here's our right ventricle, here's our right atrium. So this should be the vena cava. Here's an opening that goes into the right atrium. So this should be the vena cava right here. Okay, and we can test our theory by opening it up. And this up here is the atrium, so yes, it does go right in there. The last one would be the vessel that goes into the left atrium. So what would that be? What vessel goes into the left atrium?
Pulmonary aorta.
Good, yeah. So the pulmonary, not aorta though, it's the no.
Vein.
Vein, yeah. So the pulmonary vein, because arteries leave the heart, vein come back. So here's our left atrium. The pulmonary aorta, or I'm sorry, the pulmonary veins, let's see, the pulmonary veins, there's a couple of them and they're on the back of the heart. So this, I'm guessing, is one of them. And yes, it comes out into the left atrium. So this small vessel here is going to be the pulmonary, one of the pulmonary veins.